Hi, ghost addicts. Welcome to the show. Today we got a spooky haunted house for you. This is a real one. We mix real haunted houses with ghostly stories, and we're so excited to have you for this episode. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this one, but this is the famous haunted Lemp house. Ooh! And the Lemp family was considered to be royalty in St. Louis, Missouri, and the owner of the house was John Adam Lemp. And he actually introduced lager beer to St. Louis, Missouri back in 1838 when he opened his brewery in what is called Benton Park in this modern day times. And he oversold Anheuser-Busch beer in St. Louis, Missouri. So this is a beer family haunting of their house. So let's talk about the story and the haunting. It's so amazing. And the one of the ghosts that they call is the Lavender Lady. Ooh. So the Lemp family bought this big mansion to be near their brewery, and the location is 3322 South 13th Street, which is now called Dimino Place. So if anyone has been there and has gone to this mansion, please comment and like, and phone in, email us, tell us your story. We'll get you on the episode. And so William Lip Jr., he married Lillian Hadlin, who was a railroad supply heiress, like maybe she was the pre Hilton's, right? And they called her the Lavender Lady because that was her favorite color. And even her harnesses, they put lavender on her horse harnesses so she could be very posh like that. Oh yes, like even thinking of Marie Antoinette, right? Yeah, at Versailles. So, when you have lots of money, you can have your horses lavender, purple, any color you want, gold sparkles, whatever. And then, so let's just start at the beginning, shall we? So, you can go visit the Lemp Mansion. Like I said, it's at 3322 D. Menil Place, St. Louis, Missouri. And they even have a phone number. So I'll give you the phone number 314-664-8024. So, yeah. So, um, yep. So let's see. There is this spooky room with like these red, like the wood looks like the color red. You know that red looking wood, and the walls look green. There's some shadowy human shapes in this room. So, oh yeah, it's so scary, spookalicious. So, oh, so let's see. The it's known to be one of the 10 most haunted places in America. And there's a very tragic story about the Lemp family. So we'll tell you about that, why it's haunted, and why it was tragic when they're so rich and have a great business. Beer, everyone's drinking beer these days. So and then also after the mansion, back then they had these big giant mansions, and then like after decay, then they become either a boarding house or hospital, but this one became a boarding house. And now it is a bed and breakfast, restaurant, and a dinner theater. So you can actually stay there in the hotel, eat some food, and see a nice play or something. So like I said, Joanna Johann, Johann, Adam Lemp, and that's Lemp. I remember, you're thinking of Charade, Mr. Lemp. So, so he came to St. Louis from Eschwege, Germany, in 1838. And first, he had a small grocery store, which is on 6th Street or Delmar, and he had started with the grocery store. So he sold groceries and homemade beer. Woo! And the beer is a light golden lager. And back then, they had more darker beers were sold. So this recipe was from his father from back in Germany, and it became very, very popular that he actually gave up his grocery store and built a small brewery in 1840. And the brewery was very close to where the Gateway Arch stands today if you go over there. So, and there's the old advertising is like world's renowned export brand, Lemp's Extra Pale, unsurpassed uh, brightness, taste, flavor. So, and he also sold his beer in a pub that was attached to the brewery. So he had a brewery, and then there's a pub which you can actually go in and drink. So kind of like wine tasting. You go up to the wine valleys and you taste some wine. So that's really cool. And then he was doing so well, his brewery was too small to handle how popular it was, production storage. So then he found this cave in the city, the south of the city limits, with limestone. And the cave is located on the corner of Cherokee and D. Menil, Menil place. And so he could keep the beer cool with chopped ice from the Mississippi River. So this cave was very important to the beer making process and helping to make the beer. And it was called Lemp's Western Brewing Company. And they were so prosperous and popular, and people loved their beer. It became one of the largest brewing in the city, and it actually placed first in the annual St. Louis Fair. So their beer placed first. So then, like Anheuser-Busch is coming up in the ranks and coming up the ranks because, if someone's doing well, then back then, what was this, the Roaring 20s? This was 1858. So Adam Lemp died on August 25th, 1862. And so Adam's son, William, he expanded the brewery. And Adam was a millionaire. William's father, Adam, who started the brewery, was a millionaire. So when he died. And then William purchased a 5-block area around where the storage house on Cherokee was, and they called them the lagering caves. So they had 5 blocks, and so they built a new plant in 1864 around Cherokee Street and Cardinal Avenue. And they just were very popular, had a big demand for the beer, and it eventually covered 5 city blocks. Their brewery covered 5 city blocks. I mean, that's amazing. And they're saying by 1870s, they were very, very wealthy. The mansion was just this giant, giant mansion. And so they were, huge in St. Louis. And then prohibition came around. Prohibition, no alcohol. What? You need some alcohol because back then they didn't have a lot of entertainment. You didn't have TikTok. You didn't have Instagram. No one was dancing and mimicking, singing, and making money from just, taking a picture for 2 seconds. And can you imagine being a multimillionaire from just taking pictures of yourself? I mean, can you guys like, subscribe, and share? Can you take a second to download the podcast, give it a nice 5-star review, and please take a second to you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Storytime Fun. Remember, our kids podcast is top 1% globally, so we really, really appreciate it if you give us some love, because we're giving you guys lots and lots of love. So let's see what else. William's father-in-law, Jacob Frickert, built a house just a short distance from the brewery. And guess what they did? The home was really, really huge. When I say it was really huge, guess how many bedrooms they have? Or how many rooms? 33 rooms house. And when you say 33, everyone's like, oh, 33, Well, people that design things, usually they call it, like, what is it, mason? And to this huge Victorian, like, it was just very grand, very posh, very palatial. And then guess what they did? They built a tunnel from the basement and to the caves of the brewery. From the house, there's a tunnel from the house to the brewery. So you go through the tunnel to the brewery. So isn't that crazy? So during Prohibition, I bet you no one could see that they're having beer down there. I bet you they had all kind of parties down there during Prohibition. You're just thinking that, right? Are you thinking that? Up here where I live in Hollywood Hills, um, don't be don't be following me. Me and my dog, we go to Lake Hollywood. But there's a house on one of the entrances where DJ Moby actually used to live. And that was an old bootlegger's house, and they had a brewery in there. It's a big, giant house on the top of the entrance to go to Lake Hollywood. So they have this tunnel there, and it was just this, and when I say it's big, they had a natural auditorium and a theater. And so, and and the mechanical, they had a mechanical refrigeration down there, and they even had, listen to this, the underground part of it, they had a large concrete swimming pool, and hot water was piped in from the brewery's boiling house. They even had a bowling alley, and the theater. They even had a theater which you could get to by a spiral staircase. So they had bowling alley, a heated swimming pool, um, theater. I mean, these people had all kind of things. This reminds me of like the Spelling's house, and like by Westwood around there, they had a bowling alley and all kind of things like that. I think their house was one of the biggest houses in USA, right? Until the Versailles, the Queen of Versailles people in Florida that were building that big giant house. Um, okay, so and then in 1890s, the Lemp Brewery hit it on the maps again when they introduced the Falstaff beer. And you guys probably know about Falstaff beer because I believe it's still around today. And because it's brewed today by another company, which is called Falstaff, Falstaff beer. Let me know if you tasted this beer and how you like it. I mean, can you imagine? The recipe is all the way back from the 1800s. And the Lemp Western Brewery, they were the first brewer to establish coast to coast distribution of its beer. Isn't that incredible? Like they were the leaders of the beer. And then also, it, William Sr., they also helped Pabst, Anheuser, and Busch get started. That's amazing. And then all of a sudden things started getting really wonky. With all this, just can you imagine the amount of success? Then all these tragedies in the family started happening. Um, Frederick Lemp, uh, so William Sr. son and heir, their son and heir died in 1991 at the young age of 28 years. And Frederick Lemp, they said, was never in really good health and died of heart failure. So, this left William Lemp very, a slow withdrawal, maybe depression, his only son. You have all this success, and your own son, you know, can't even just yeah, I guess people get really sad. So the father was rarely seen in public after his son's death. And then his closest friend, Frederick Pabst, that's the Pabst beer that he helped, died. So William had his son, and his closest friend, like I said, Frederick Pabst, died. So two close people died. And so William had to run the brewery. They said that he went to office each day, but I mean, this is hearsay because we weren't back then there. But I mean, so it looks like his health declined. And then this is really tragic. On February 13, 1904, William shot himself in the head with a .38 caliber Smith and Wesson. So this man who had the biggest house, 33 rooms, tunnels, heated pool, bowling alleys, theaters, being popular, having beer. Can you imagine you're the heir, hi, hey guys, I'm having a party at my house. I'm the heir to a beer company. I'd be so popular. You guys would be at my house partying, hanging out in the bubbles and bubble bath and the pool and the jacuzzi and the bowling alleys and the theater and just having fun, right? So, and to have, no son, no heirs. This is just really sad. So then William Lemp Jr. took over as the president. He became the new president of the brewing company, inheriting the family business and their giant fortune. And his wife was Lillian. That's the one I told you, that she was very wealthy. She was an heiress, and she was the lavender lady. And she she had servants and au pairs, and she loves spending money, like fine clothes, fine arts, and just making her horses look pretty. I told you she became the lavender lady because she loves the color of lavender, and everything she wore was lavender, lavender, lavender. And I told you her horses that rode her carriage harnesses were dyed lavender. Wasn't she different? Interesting that these people like colors like that, because the other house that we did, they painted the outside of their house like that mauve red pink color. That was really, really weird, as a sign of poshness. So I guess she's showing that she's very posh, that she can have her horse harnesses in lavender. And she definitely was very rich. And so she came from, I told you, the railroad family. And she was very beautiful. And then listen to this. You'd like to be this lady, Lillian. William, I guess they said, was tiring of his wife. And then he told her that she must spend her time shopping. So I guess he wanted to keep her busy and out of the house. Who knows if he has mistresses or what he was doing. But he wanted to keep her shopping. And when I say that, he gave her $1,000 a day, and if she didn't spend it, she wouldn't get any more. I would love that. You guys can give me. Can you imagine $1,000 back then in 1800s? That's like what, $100,000 a day or $1,000,000 a day or something like that. Because even today, who wouldn't want $1,000 a day? Like, that's still a lot today. Well, I think it's a lot today. Do you think it's a lot today? So if anybody wants to give me $1,000 a day to spend, I will gladly do that. Please let me know. And you can send it to Buy Me Coffee Sneakies or PayPal me anonymous content. Wouldn't that be so lovely? We all are like, yes, that'd be so lovely. So William ran the brewery during the day, but then, yeah, see, this is where it gets nice and dicey. Decadent activities during the night. William would hold lavish parties in the caves below. Yeah, I told you they're partying in the caves. And actually, a little funny story. There's this big producer, and he was out of town, and the assistant had a party in their mansion in Beverly Hills, and they actually had a cave in the bottom of the house. Of course, they had the outdoor pool, and then the cave was dressed up. It was so Austin Powers and like Cleopatra, with um, gold satin sheets on the caves and the pillows and stuff like that. And it was like, yeah, and they had the pool tables and the pinball machines and all that stuff, but they had the cave below their house. Oh my gosh, good to be a rich producer, right? And I've been to many parties in Hollywood, you guys. So if you want to know of any, let me know. Yes, I've seen a lot of caves in people's houses. So, and then William brought numerous prostitutes for entertainment for his friends. How lovely. The boys were having a good old time with prostitutes, and they were swimming in that hot swimming pool, using the bowling alley with the beer. Can you imagine? They were just having a good old time. Everyone's having a good old time. But then, then William had a son with a woman who was not his wife. Oh, imagine that, when you're having all those parties and drinking all that beer and having all those women around and having just sexy, sexy, fun party times. And so, but this is the thing. They're saying that there's no official records that the boy existed. But this is the part where the ghost comes in. Now, this boy, they said they hid him in the mansion attic his entire life, or wherever they hid him in this house, because there's 33 rooms. There's a tunnel that goes to the brewery. So this is and remember, 5 acres of city blocks. This is not like a little tiny, tiny, tiny place. So there's pools, there's bowling alleys, there's probably the giantest library, a big kitchen, big dining room, and hallways that you can ride a bicycle all around and race like electric cars or whatever you want to do. This is huge. So it seems like the boy was hidden wherever they hid him, the attic. It's kind of sounding like that book story, Flowers in the Attic, where they hid that girl in the attic her whole life. So they're saying this historian, Joe Gibbons from St. Louis, Joe Gibbons is a St. Louis historian, said that he interviewed the former nanny and chauffeur who actually worked at the mansion, and they verified that the boy did exist. So the nanny chauffeur said this boy did exist, and was housed in the attic quarters. So he was actually in the attic. And these attics house the servants' room. So that's probably the servants' quarter, wing, or area in the attic. So, so Williams philandering, from who knows, woman, girlfriend, prostitute, or whatever. And they said the boy was possibly born with Down syndrome. So it was something they want to hush and keep secret. And well, at least they had the boy and didn't kill him, right? So, and then this ghostly boy is known as the monkey face boy. Monkey face boy. So they're saying the soul, this boy is still hanging around the mansion, and people have seen this kid, this boy, which he's nicknamed the monkey face boy, which is kind of sad. And then they're saying William was getting very tired of Lillian, and he filed divorce from her back in 1908. And so this became a scandal around this. So the lavender lady gets, I guess he tired of her. I mean, and it was on the front page of the St. Louis newspapers. And so I guess it became like a spectacle, and there was crowds that actually went to the courthouse to hear it, because it was like one of those popular stories. It was like a TV show or soap opera or a reality show, because there was like tales of this is the you know famous party house with like old prostitutes, violence, drunkenness, and all kind of things. So it was very newsworthy. So in so Lillian, they're saying she held on to her custody of their son, but then and then she was also smoking a cigarette, and that was very no for a woman to be smoking a cigarette. So they said she retired from public eye, and she, I guess, always wore lavender. And they said when the final day of her divorce proceedings, she wore all black before the judge. And then after this divorce, this is when William's trouble started to just press on him. They said in 1906 there was 9 breweries in St. Louis area that formed the Independent Breweries Company, which made this huge competition for the Lemp Brewery. And then William's mother died in April 16th of that year, and they're saying the fortunes started to decline, and the mansion did get a remodel in 1911. And let's see, the company's equipment started to deteriorate over time, and they weren't keeping, update or modernizing it with the times. And and then World War One came, and they're saying the brewery was just limping along, quote unquote. Just I guess he wasn't paying attention to it. Once you make all the money, they're saying a lot of billionaires or rich people are really tight with their money, and if you're not keeping the machinery well kept, it's just going to deteriorate and rust, and you need to keep this stuff up. So, and then they're saying William built a country home in the Merrimack River, and then he kept just I guess living over there. And he remarried a second wife called Ellie Limberg, and she was the widow daughter of another brewer Casper Kohler. So he keeping the brewery in his family. Then Prohibition came along, like I said, in 1919, and everyone was really wealthy, and so they didn't really worry about the brewery too much. And they were hoping that Congress would repeal the prohibition, and that's when they closed the Lemp plant down. So this prohibition just made the final chapter because they were all wealthy, and like, why keep it afloat when you just have so much money, I guess. And then Elsa Lemp Wright in 1920, Williams sisters, and she was the wealthiest heiress in St. Louis, shot herself. So March 20, 1920, Williams' sister Elsa Lemp Wright shot herself, and she was one of the wealthiest heiress in St. Louis. So something about being in St. Louis and being really rich, she shot herself. Her father shot himself, and then the daughter shot himself. And I guess she was very sad about her marriage, her rocky marriage. So they, closing the plant down, they started auctioning the building, and they even sold their famous Flagstaff logo to brewer Joseph Guzdick. And lots of stuff were sold to the International Shoe Company, the brewery building, so it was sold to the shoe company. And so this dynasty ended. Then it seemed that William Jr., who his whole identity was the brewery, he seemed to go like get into this depression, and it seems like he was following in his father's footsteps. He became, nervous, erratic, shunning public life, and complaining of ill health. Then, like his father, William Jr., on December 29th, 1922, he shot himself with a .38 caliber revolver in the same building where his father had died 18 years before. And he took his life on the main level of the mansion, and they're saying just inside the entrance to the left. And so William's brothers Charles and Edwin, who had left the family business, it seemed like, this Lemp brewery empire ended. And Edwin, one of the other brothers, he just lived a life of seclusion, and he lived in Kirkwood, Missouri. And then Charles Lemp, they said that he was never involved in the brewery. He worked in banking and real estate. So Edwin lived a life of seclusion, and Charles banking and real estate. Then here you go. 1943, William Lemp III died of a heart attack at the age of 42. Oh, and then Charles, Charles is the one that was in the banking and real estate field. He remodeled the mansion and lived in the house with two servants and that illegitimate child of his brother. So I guess the monkey boy. And sorry if this is like offending anyone, but I'm just saying what they call the child and he's known as. So just reading that, I know. Then they're saying Charles became very strange, and he had morbid, just started getting really like depressed, and I think something in the house makes him kind of go stir crazy, because he had a morbid fear of germs. He had obsessive compulsive behavior, wearing gloves, didn't want to get any bacteria, and was constantly washing his hands. Sound like the what was it, that other guy back in the day that you know who I'm talking about, germs, I forget his name, but he was a producer, and the rich guy dated all the actors, and nowadays, like, everyone surprised to wear masks and gloves. But then they're saying the child, the illegitimate child, was in his 30s. He died at the mansion, and he was also buried in the Lemp cemetery plot. And so, and there's only the word on that plot is just Lemp. And so after the boy's death, then Charles, who moved into the mansion, who was getting obsessive and just acting strange, and He committed suicide too. So this is the fourth person that committed just